Yes. Now let us study this question. You hear the beginning of a training session for nurses about to start work on a pediatric ward. Somebody is giving a training session. It's a training session. It's a monologue. Only one person is speaking to the nurses. Nurses are silent. The trainer. So the trainer is speaking. The trainer is speaking. Only one person is speaking. So no other person. It is a monologue, no two persons. Two persons is dialogue. Here only one person, trainer is speaking. It's a lecture. Okay. You hear the beginning, only the beginning, not the middle or the ending. It's only the beginning. So what is the focus? What is the focus? What is the focus? Means what is more important of today's session? Today's. So here, this is a time-related question. This is a time-related question. When he said today, so he said today. So if you say today, that means before that was yesterday. Or before today. So yesterday or before today. Next one may be tomorrow or after today. So today, day, he is bothered about the day here. Try to understand, time is divided into three parts. Time is divided into three parts here. Okay. So time is divided into three parts. So today and before today and after today means tomorrow. Today, before and after. Before means yesterday and before. Tomorrow and after. So time is trifurcated. It's a trident. Trifurcated. So think, he may talk about yesterday when he was admitted, what happened today, when he's under treatment, what happened tomorrow, what is going to happen. So there are three phases here. There are three phases: past, present, and future. You should understand the question like this. You have to understand the question like this. When he's saying today, so today's focus, what is it? That means in the pediatric ward, there are many patients already. So today we are going to start, means yesterday already something was done. And tomorrow also work will be there. Everything will not be finished. So it will not start today and end today. Today, what we are going to do? That means yesterday we have done so and so things. Today we are going to do these things. Tomorrow we'll go to do these things. So that's the point. So the ward is pediatric ward. Pediatric ward. The ward is pediatric ward. So what is the focus for today's session? So remember three things. When he was admitted yesterday night or yesterday evening or yesterday afternoon or just yesterday or day before yesterday, those will not come. That is not important for us. When he says today, then you have to be ready. When he says tomorrow, take it light. So now comparing equipment with patients of different ages. So equipment. So focus on equipment. So you have to compare equipment used with patients of different ages. So equipment is the important one. Okay. Then gaining an awareness of how some equipment is used. So here, let us see here. Equipment is there in all the three. I thought equipment is important, but equipment is there everywhere. Here also equipment is there. Here also equipment is there. So equipment is not important now. Equipment is not important anymore. It is important, but it is not important anymore. Because in all the three questions, Okay. Equipment is there. And in the same way here, sum is there. Here also sum is there. Okay. So comparing equipment with the patients of different ages. So comparing. The next important word is comparing. Comparing. Comparison of equipment. Which equipment to which age? Different ages. Ages and comparison. So this equipment for this age, this equipment for this age. So comparison of equipment, not ages. Comparison for equipment. This is more important. Right. Gaining an awareness of how some equipment is used. Awareness regarding usage of equipment, not comparison. Usage of equipment. How to use. Okay. Comparison equipment used with patients is comparing equipment. Comparing is important, but here usage is important and its awareness is important. Equipment, how it is used. How it is used. So usage is important here. Okay. Usage is important. Usage of equipment is important. So you have to know about its awareness. And here comparison is important. Comparing equipment, here usage of equipment. And here learning how to best to organize some equipment. Here organizing equipment is important. Here organizing equipment is important. Here using equipment is important. Here organizing equipment is important. Here comparing equipment is important. So first one is comparing equipment. Second one is awareness, usage of equipment. Third one is organizing the equipment. Organizing means how to organize. So how to assemble, how to keep them ready. Okay, that is organized. Comparing means comparing one with another. How to organize the equipment means this one here, this one here, this one here, how to keep them ready. Organize systematically. Then third one is usage. So first one is comparing, then second one is organizing, then third one is using. So first you compare big, small, heavy, light, short, tall, like this one, all equipment you are comparing. Then after comparing only you will organize them. After organizing them, when it is necessary to use it, then you start using it. So different stages. First you will compare, then you will organize, then you will use. So try to understand here. Comparing. So today's focus. You hear the beginning of a training session for a training session of nurses about to start to work on a pediatric ward. So they are starting work. They are not training, they are starting work. It's not a training session. They are going to start directly. So it is not just comparing or it is not just organizing, but it is how to use them with the patients. Most likely chance is B. Try to understand here. Comparing the equipment, that before going to the ward only you have to know. Organizing also, before going to the ward only you know. But today you are going to the pediatric ward to work. You are starting work there. Training finished. You are starting work, real practice. Okay. Really practice means you are going to use the equipment with the patients because patients are already there. It's not just equipment. Okay. Not just comparison of equipment, but how to use these different types of equipment with the patients. So just comparing what is the use when you go to a pediatric ward. Just to organize, what is the use? That you should know well in advance before starting the actual work. You are not in training period now. In training period, it will be use of how to use the equipment with the patients. So chances are more likely B. So this is how you have to analyze the, even before the audio starts, you have to think. Answer may be wrong. Answer may be right. That is not our problem. But we can you can brainstorm. You can imagine. You can assess. Okay. And evaluate the options against your brain power. Okay. IQ, intelligence quotient. Use it properly. So Most likely because they are going to start to work on a pediatric ward. Start to work on, that means live duty. If anything goes wrong, is very important. So try to understand that one. Okay? Try to understand live practice. So gaining an awareness of how some equipment is used. Used where? With patients of different ages. But B, A is only comparing equipment used with patients of different age. Only comparing the equipments. You are not using that. Okay? You are only comparing the equipment which is used with different patients, but you are not using it. You are just comparing. Second one is using the equipment, gaining awareness of how some equipment is used. So using the equipment is important here. Using it, not comparing, but using it real situation. Third one is organizing the equipment. Okay, organizing means making it a systematical presentation or display in the ward. That's it. So what might be the answer? According to me, I think it is most likely option is B, because they are going to the pediatric ward. If they are going to the pediatric ward, there are the equipment, they can compare or they can organize or they can use. Compare, no problem. Okay. Comparing, no problem. Organizing, no problem. But usage is the problem. So that is the focus today, because they are going hands-on practice in the real pediatric ward. They are starting work as a real nurse. Training is finished. Training session is finished. Okay. They are going to start work today onwards. That's it. So let us play the audio. So this is how you have to analyze the question. If you analyze like this, it will be very easy for you later.
And dribbling of saliva, for which a speech pathologist offered conservative advice. He also has COPD that he self-manages with inhalers. He was diagnosed with a hydrocele, which presented shortly after his dementia diagnosis and causes him a bit of distress. He keeps forgetting it's there, so you may need to go over with him how to avoid discomfort when sitting down or using the bathroom.
Okay. Question 27. You hear the beginning of a training session for nurses about to start work on a pediatric ward. Now read the question.
Today, we're talking about how, as nurses, we can support the best resuscitation outcomes in our patients. Now, unlike adult cardiorespiratory arrest, that's mostly caused by ventricular fibrillation, most pediatric cardiorespiratory arrests are secondary arrests caused by hypoxia as a direct result of underlying illness or injury. So, when a child's condition is deteriorating, it's vital to provide airway, breathing, and cardiac support to prevent progression to cardiorespiratory arrest. Having a thorough understanding and knowledge of the equipment on the pediatric emergency trolley means you can select the equipment you need to manage the deteriorating patient in an emergency situation. So that's what we're focusing on in this session. The equipment is stored in an emergency trolley which has specific equipment for either airways, breathing, circulation, or disability stored in each of its 4 drawers.
Question 28. You hear an occupational therapist briefing a trainee about a home visit that he's going to observe.
Yeah. So yes. So now write the answer what you think is right. Write your answers, please. Sandeep says C. Veronica says C. And Jasdeep says B. Okay. Now let us go to the text. Yeah. "27. So it's a monologue. I told you only one person will speak. Only one person will speak. Yeah. Only one person is speaking here. So you can see very clearly now. Okay. You can see very clearly what yeah. Now, focus. What is the focus today? If you see very clearly, so that's what we are focusing on in this session. So that's what we are focusing on in this session. What is the main focus for today? Okay. What is the main focus for today? Right? Now, so that's what. So that is what. What is that? That is what. What means that? That means what? That is what. So what is that? It's already told. So that is what we are already told. That means in the previous sentence, here is the answer. Here is the answer. Here is the answer. Having a thorough understanding and knowledge of the equipment, that's very clear, equipment on the pediatric emergency trolley means you can select the equipment you need to manage, means use. You need to use the equipment you need to use, not compare, not organize, but need to use. Okay. You need to manage, means you need to use to manage the deteriorating patient in an emergency situation. In an emergency situation, what you will do? You will go and compare the equipment, or you will go and organize the equipment, or you will use the equipment. So try to understand here. Emergency situation is there. In that emergency situation, you have to take an emergency decision. Then you will compare the which is good or what. Or you will organize them, or you will use that. Okay, that is the point here. So you remember the points there. What he told, right? What he told there. Comparing equipment or using equipment or organizing equipment. What is the thing that you are going to use in an emergency situation? Try to understand. In an emergency situation, what are you going to do? Okay. Are you going to compare one piece of equipment with another piece of equipment? Okay, comparing equipment used with patients at different ages. Now, emergency situations. Oh, this equipment I have to use. This person I have to use this. So, do you have that much time to compare? And you should know well in advance. Not now. Not in emergency situation. You should start comparing. Okay. Second one, organizing them. Oh, now I have to organize. How can you organize when it is an emergency situation? First, you have to attend the emergency situation. So you are going to use the equipment, because organizing and comparing should be done even long before. Well in advance, you have to know in the training session itself. But in the real session, you are going to use it. You are not under training now. You are already trained. You are going into the ward, pediatric ward. You are trying to work with the real patients. If you do anything wrong, it's a danger. You are not anymore in a stage where you are comparing equipment. You are not anymore in the stage where you are organizing equipment. Okay. Right? Deteriorate patient in an emergency situation. That is what you have to learn now. So that is using. So here it is very clear. Having a thorough understanding and knowledge. Having a thorough understanding and knowledge means awareness. Knowledge means awareness. Understanding means you understand, so you have knowledge and you have awareness. Clear, thorough awareness. Okay. Having means gaining. Gaining. So the option you remember. What is the option? Gaining an awareness of how some equipment is used. So having means gaining. Thorough means excellent. Understanding and knowledge means awareness of how some equipment, on the pediatric emergency trolley. Okay. Means you can select. You can select. Already you have compared, you organized everything. You can select the equipment you need to manage, you need to use. You need means equipment you want to use. You need it, so you're using it. You need it, so you're using it. So you use to manage. Remove need and put use. Selecting the equipment you use, you require, and therefore you use to manage the deteriorating patient in an emergency situation. In an emergency situation, you will compare the equipment, or you will organize the equipment, or you will use the equipment. Definitely, emergency situation, you have no time to think also. You have to use the equipment. I told you already, your logic and your guesswork should be perfect. So you already know 99.9%, you already know the answer. Yes, when you listen to the audio, you are 100% sure. Only to check whether your logic is right or not. If your logic is right, just check, verifying. Yeah, my guess was right. That's how you have to use. So answer is B, gaining an awareness on how some equipment is used. So that's very clear. Now there you understood that is an emergency situation. They are going to pediatric ward. So first one is comparing equipment. Okay. So comparing equipment or using equipment, or using equipment or organizing equipment. So pediatric ward, you are going on pediatric ward, not in the training session, in the training room, in the auditorium. No, you are in the pediatric ward, live, real show. It is live, real show. You are not more a trainee, you are a registered nurse now, because you are working on the pediatric ward. Okay, you are responsible, and the situation is emergency. That was confirmed. So in emergency, you will not compare, you will not organize, you will directly use in emergency situation. That's it.